Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, guys? It is Daniel, and we are back here again today. Today we have a video. This is by, I believe, He's a doctor, Paul Williams. He is a Muslim scholar. I like the guy. He's pretty well read. He's very well read, especially compared to me. He's a smart guy, and I like his perspective on some things. So he's got this video that piqued my interest. The Salafi Creed, is it correct? And so I thought I'd check it out. And I know a bunch of you are now typing comments. Daniel, be careful. Like you're either warning me that Salafis are bad, or you're encouraging me Salafis are good. Okay. For me, I like to listen to other people's perspectives, and I check it myself. I check it with my own intuition. I check it with the Quran and with the Sunnah, what I do know. And so that's it. I don't really think, I know a lot of you like constantly warn me and warn other Muslims about, oh, be careful about listening to these people or those people. I don't think information is really that dangerous, unless you're gullible. But like I said, you have to check with the Quran and the Sunnah. The message of the Quran is pretty simple, and for me, it's quite obvious if somebody's teaching something that's outside of that message of the Quran. That's what I think anyway. So nonetheless, I want to learn more about what the Salafis believe. And so here, we're going to check out, we're going to see what Paul Williams has to say. I'm open to listen to anything else. If you guys have videos, for those of you that are warning me about, oh, don't listen to Salafis, well, please, if you would be so kind, share a video about why I shouldn't listen to Salafis, or why the Salafi creed is flawed, why the Salafi belief is flawed, and then I'll react to that video, inshallah. And otherwise, if you have a video that you like from a Salafi and you want me to watch that video, then yeah, please share. So I'm an open-minded person. I like to listen to all people's perspectives. That doesn't mean I agree with them or I accept their perspective, but I like to listen because I think it increases your knowledge when you hear different perspectives. All right, nonetheless, I want to listen to what Mr. Paul Williams here has to say, so let's get into this video.
Hello, I thought I'd just do a video asking the question, are the Salafis right about their creed, about the Islamic creed, the Aqidah? Now, this is a very controversial area amongst the Muslims, and it's only with trepidation that I dip my toe into this, with a very good chance that it'd be bitten off by someone. So I must stress, obviously, I'm not a scholar, and I'm just, I don't intend to give in my opinions. I just want to ask a question and share some historical information about this. Because the Salafis, I've often thought in my own mind, they are the despised group within a despised group. The despised group, the bigger one, is the Muslims, and within them are the Salafis, and they're even more despised because I've so many Muslims I know despise the Salafis, rightly or wrongly, and I'm not going to get into that. But I just want to talk about the creed. Creed is really important, and Salafis claim that they follow the original, the authentic creed, and of course other Muslims say this is rubbish, and they don't, and they are just deviants and way off the orthodox Sunni path. So I just want to look at the evidence about that for what it's worth. I just thought I'd start with a definition of what a Salafi is, in case you were asking, and I'm looking at Abu Khadija's website. He's a prominent, perhaps the most prominent Salafi intellectual and writer in the UK, and he wrote a booklet called What is Salafism? And in it he says, to be a Salafi means adhering to the creed, methodology and the way of life of the Salaf as-Saleh, the pious predecessors. The earliest of the Salaf was the generation of our Prophet and his companions. Then after them came the virtuous 3 generations of believers who held fast to the Sunnah, or path, of the Prophet and his companions. The person who understands this path correctly, follows it exactly, without introducing anything into it or deviating from it, is a Salafi. To be a Salafi is not merely to imagine that one is upon the true path of the Salaf, but Salafism is to study the religion of the companions and follow it. It was they who understood best the meanings and intent of the speech and actions of the Prophet.
On paper, sounds like a good idea. Like in theory, everything I just heard, like that sounds like a good idea. But is it that simple? Let's see.
So that's the claim they make, and are they right? Well, what is interesting is, and this is really getting controversial now. If people know about this, this is incendiary stuff. But Dr. Yasser Qadhi was for many, many years, and he's of course the American imam, the American academic, for many years was an advocate of the Salafi approach.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that Yasser Qadhi was at least an advocate of Salafi. I don't know if he claimed to be a Salaf himself, but I didn't know he was an advocate of Salafism.
Recently, in recent years, he's broken from that group.
Whoa.
And and has written quite critically of Salafism. And he's written an article, a booklet really, called On Salafi Islam, which is available online. I'll link to it in the description below, which I think is rather interesting. He talks about the negative aspects of Salafism and the positive aspects of Salafism. Now, I'm not going to get into the negative side, and I'm not going to talk about the positive, apart from one issue, and that is he says something very interesting about the creed and about their theology. Now, this is a man, as I say, who is very critical of Salafis now, but it doesn't mean he jettisons everything of that theology, of that methodology. But he says something very interesting about the creed. So and
once again, I know all of you are now typing comments. Oh my God, Yasser Qadhi, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Again, like just sometimes just listen to what people have to say. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean you have to like be hypnotized by it and just accept it. Just listen. Just listen to what people have to say, regardless of any wrongs they may have done. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to listen to what they have to say. And yeah, they might be completely wrong, but just listen.
And I just want to read it and discuss it because this guy has a PhD from Yale in this subject, and he knows a thing or two. Anyway, he says this about the creed. Salafis have an enviably pure theology. Any objective researcher will find that the Athari Creed is the earliest documented Sunni creed.
Athari? I'd never heard of Athari. I thought it was Ashari. No? What is Athari?
Predating the Kalam-based creeds of the Ashariya and the Matariya. This is manifested in numerous theological treatises that still exist from the late 2nd and early 3rd Islamic centuries. The Athari Creed was the dominant strand of Sunni Islam in the 4th and 5th Islamic centuries. And although it came to be limited to the Hanbali school of the 6th century as a result of political changes, it received a reviving boost from the ever-phenomenal Ibn Taymiyyah, from whom it still continues to receive vigour. So Dr. Yasser Qadhi is saying that the Salafis have the earliest creed. So the claim earlier that I mentioned in the definition of a Salafi would be backed up by Yasser Qadhi. Now, there are two little footnotes here which I find particularly interesting. Footnotes just to that paragraph I mentioned. The first one, footnote 14, says, and this is in response to the statement that the Athari Creed is the earliest creed. He says this: "This is the view of almost all non-Muslim academics who specialise in Islamic theology, from Ignaz Goldziher to Richard M. Frank to George Makdisi and Joseph Van Es." Now, these are the titans of Orientalist studies. While it is true that most of these names are dismissive of the Athari Creed because they view it as being overtly simplistic, they acknowledge that this trend of proto-Sunnism predates the Kalam trend of Asharism. Some modern Asharites, despite all evidence to the contrary, continue to paint an incorrect picture of this reality, in which it is alleged that Ibn Taymiyyah founded a new understanding of Islam. In my own personal library, as I write these words, says Dr. Yasakadi, I can see around a dozen theological treatises in my bookshelf written before al-Ash'ari, all of which affirm Allah's attributes completely and unconditionally and refute Kalam. One may disagree with Ibn Taymiyyah, but one cannot historically deny that the general creed that Ibn Taymiyyah preached predates him by at least 5 centuries. So this is quite significant. If virtually...
Yeah, this is a little bit outside of my realm of understanding, but what I do know is that, like, typically the Sunni creed or belief is Ash'ari. I could be wrong, but that's what I understand. And the Salafi creed actually comes from Taymiyyah, but what Paul Williams here is saying is that Yazir Qadi said that Ibn Taymiyyah's creed actually predates Ibn Taymiyyah. It's much older, so quite interesting for what it's worth. I don't know if this is true or not. This is honestly just like the beginning. You're just seeing the beginning of me kind of diving deeper into this stuff, so I really don't know that much.
All Western scholars agree with the Salafi belief that their creed is the earliest creed, as opposed to the Asharite creed, which has now become the dominant creed in the Muslim world because of people like Al-Ghazali and others, and that's a different subject. But I just want to come back to the Athari creed, as it's called. There's another footnote here, footnote 16, after some comments that he made in the paragraph I read about Ibn Taymiyyah. He says, my doctoral dissertation at Yale, which was an analytical study of Ibn Taymiyyah's magnum opus entitled Averting the Conflict Between Reason and Revelation, or Aql and Naql, began with an introductory chapter of around 100 pages in which I documented the rise of the Asharite school. Again, this is the dominant school today, not the original school. In it, Yasakadi says, I clearly demonstrate that the school began, this is the Asharite school, as a small outcast movement, was initially persecuted by other movements, and due to historical reasons, which I delineated there in detail, eventually managed to supplant the dominant Athari creed, the original, to become the official creed of the Seljuks and later Islamic dynasties. The claim of modern Asharis, and they do make this claim, I've certainly heard it, that they have always been the dominant understanding of Sunnism is historically untrue.
Very interesting.
Now that's
very interesting to think that Sunni Muslims as a whole throughout history have actually changed creeds. The predominant creed of Sunni Islam has actually changed, maybe even more than once, I don't know, since the inception of Islam, after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So very interesting. The history of Islam, the universe of Islam is like so much bigger and more complicated, honestly, than I thought it was when I first took Shahada. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn, and it's not like we have to learn this stuff. I don't believe we do. It's not a pillar of Islam, right? But for me personally, I'm just kind of a person that likes to get to the bottom of things. I like to learn all the ins and outs. And so here we are.
Amazing claim as well. And then there's another footnote more about Ibn Taymiyyah. It's been my contention that if Allah had not blessed the Athari creed with someone of the caliber of Ibn Taymiyyah as a defense lawyer and public advocate, it would have long dwindled into a minuscule movement. On a personal note, the towering personality and sharp insights of Ibn Taymiyyah have had a profound impact on my own thought as well, and I consider him to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, intellectual mind that our Ummah has ever seen. So that's from On Salafi Islam by Dr. Yasir Qadi, which I link to. Now, he has many criticisms of the Salafi movement today, which I'm not going to go into in this video. But in
Dang
terms
it.
of their key belief in the Athari Creed, that is not a criticism he has. In fact, he agrees with them that it is the historically earliest, most authentic creed of the Salafs, the companions of the Prophet. So to answer the question, it seems the evidence from this guy who's got a PhD from Yale and all these Western scholars as well, if this is accurate, that the Salafis are right to say and claim that their creed, and within that, all that means in terms of belief about Allah's attributes and the methodology and so on, is the earliest Islamic creed. That doesn't mean we should all become Salafis, of course, because there's more to it than that. But nevertheless, I just wanted to throw that out there with a caveat that I'm not a scholar.
Thanks,
And
Paul.
I could be wrong. Even Yasser Qadhi could be wrong, but I think Yale wouldn't have given him a PhD in this if he was wrong. He would have
Maybe.
not done that. So
We don't know.
that's it for now. Make of that what you will. Please comment and disagree and offer your views. And again, the issue here is about the creed. I'm not talking about Wahhabism or Saudi Arabia or this or ISIS. I'm just talking about the issue, the Aqidah issue. That's the only thing I'm addressing
You just say
in
ISIS.
this video. Till next time.
Till next time, Paul. All right. Well, basically, all I got from that video was that Yasir Qadhi says that Salafis actually have historically the oldest creed of Islam. Is Yasir Qadhi wrong? Maybe. Is he right? Maybe. I honestly don't know. Any of you that have evidences, please share down below in the comments or share your opinion. But if you have evidence, it's very much preferred. Yeah, what do you guys think? Please write down in the comments what y'all think. And may Allah bless you generously for watching this video with me. And inshallah, we will see you all in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.